Welcome to Inside the London Study Abroad Sessions, the podcast where we explore how universities, students, and employers are connecting classrooms, theory with real-world experience. I'm your host, Maciek Kucha. Magic, people call me Magic for years. You can call me Magic if you like. And with this, we are heading to Latin America, I suppose, to hear from a leader who has been shaping international education for over a decade. Joining us is Aldo Brunhara, a director of IBS Americas, an institution that partners with some of the most respected universities in the US and Europe. And Aldo has been instrumental building global partnerships with designing programs that give students not just international exposure, but the skills and agility to thrive in today's business world. We have 6 challenges, 6 questions. We try to keep it conversational, and I do hope that we're going to get some really good insight into the modern education. So thank you, Aldo, for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your invitation. Also, Insider London for the opportunity. It's a great opportunity for come here and talk about the important thing which is motivate young executives and new generation to considering studying abroad as a way for expanding their experience, expanding opportunity, expanding their careers. And there's no borderline in the countries. When you study abroad, you open your mind and you come back home, and then you can create opportunities for the community where you are in, and also for yourself. So that's our mission, to internationalize human resource, especially in emerging economies.
Great. This is a great segue. Thank you, Aldo, because the question I want to ask you first, the first challenge, if you like, it's bridging theory and practice. So how do you ensure that IBS students connect classroom theory with a real-world business practice? Especially giving the school's strong partnership with important institutions like SUNY and Parsons College London.
That's an amazing question, because teaching is not only theory. Of course, theory is the fundamentals, but we have to bring in classroom practical application, what you learn from the theories. And that's our mission in IBS Americas programs, is that we work together with outstanding universities around the world, in US and Europe, for looking for applying the theory in a real world, makes the students feeling like, for example, project-based learning. So during the classes, they have an experience to have case studies, and bringing the case studies to the real world, this business decisions. When one of our students goes to the market for a job or a position, they are more secure about to make decisions nowadays. There's a vocal word we are now today. We say VUCA word means that it's very volatile, very uncertainty. And this brings to us as a person a lots of uncertainty. And then when you participate in an international program, you can also use these practical activities to access the global industry and understanding how the scenarios of the globalization, despite some leaders are trying to reduce and create barriers, but we think that this also improve the networking and the immense environment, and they are involved, and also creating bridges, not creating barriers. It's like, of course, it's just a cultural for business environment for the destination. For example, in New York, when you go to one of New York or to London programs, they also experience the London economic environment, the London business environment. With this brings to the students an opportunity for increase the what is the theory, what is in a practical way.
Thank you. That makes sense. This is one of the things, one of the challenges, of course, in a
Yeah.
modern world is, how do you stand out in a crowded graduate market? The labor
Yeah.
market is tied across, I suppose in America's things probably are the same, aren't they? The labor market is quite tight. So the question to you directly is, IBS Americas collaborates with some of the most respected universities in the US and Europe. And in your view, what makes a study abroad experience truly a career defining for students? What is different
Yeah.
about the great program, for
Mhm.
international? students?
we may think about three different things. We can think about the depth of the knowledge you're going to be in, the rigor of the academic standard, and also the network you create. So talking about the depth of your understanding. So this is a very intensive program. They go abroad, they focus on models to bring the students strategy marketing or corporate financial management or project management specialization. So during the 3 weeks, they can go and get provide knowledge and that they can use in the real world as we were talking before. The second one, the rigor. I mean, our part, like State University of New York, is known for academic standards. So when they ensure for us that the delivery of the professors are very quite experienced, both academically and also in companies, not only academically. This will give you a weight and the recognition in a global environment. And networking, finally, I've just named three. We can name here many others, a differentiation, but let's keep on these three: deep rigor and network. Networking, that means that's very in terms of increasing connections. Nowadays, it's quite important. People get connected with the right person. What you need, you don't have to know everything. But what I learned from our experience with our students, we have students from over 65 countries participating in our program. So in classroom, they have this flavor of enjoying the experience, understanding different cultural differences, and also make friends from different locations. Even a countryside like Brazil, it's a very continental country. Students from the south meet students from the north, from the west, from the industrial, from the rural areas. This makes a lot of connections and personal relationships that really forge the critical for a student to be a global leader. And the global leader needs to understand the connections. I think that's the three main advantage on this, I would say. Makes sense?
No, no, it does a lot because, of course, it's students coming from different regions, coming from different parts of Latin America, Americas, and the world. I'm sure you have noticed, differences in students from different regions and how they respond to these opportunities. You've been in an industry for many years, so I'm sure you can see how many of them do stand out because they have that experience of international study abroad. So, it's in a sense, how does IBS integrate employability, negotiation strategy, and cultural agility into its international programs to prepare students for the global business environment?
Yes, become a global leader is not an easy task, but in our programs, they can see also they are integrating in the DNA of our programs is that focusing on employability of the students for the future. So strategy negotiation is something they learn more when they understand and learn from how to negotiate just for deals, but just for different cultures. Sometimes business are lost because people don't understand each other. Coming to international program is something like that.
Yeah, no, no, that's right. Because, coming from the background you are over the years, have you noticed much change recently, especially, finding global partners, because you manage corporate and academic partnerships across Latin America, right? What do you look for in a global partner? How do you ensure collaborations between IBS and universities like SUNY, for instance, deliver mutual value for the students and institutions alike?
Yeah, we really enjoy long-term relationship. Long-term relationship, you are building brick by brick, and this is something becomes a very strong program, is very well tested, very well planned. Before launching a new destination or a new program, it takes like 2 to 3 years
Mm,
ahead
long
of the
time.
launching. So a lot of planning, a lot of analysis in terms of really uh, allowing the partner we are choosing for the partner to be ready and understanding our values, we understand our partner values, and also looking for the academic excellence because excellence is something very important for the partners to bring their excellence in a very short experience. 3 weeks pass so fast. We want them to be when the students comes in, they have the student experience to be shared out in classroom and also during the project work, during the company visits they do. And we are
Yes.
really appreciate inside London our part and also in London coordinating company visits. And that is one part of our programs is that to let the students be interacting with local executives. And this is very, very important.
Suppose just a quick follow up, how do you balance the academic rigor with the need for the practical and employability driven skills? This is something I've been trying to ask a lot of people, post COVID. COVID has brought a lot of changes in how we study, how we work.
Mhm.
So my question really is about the types of challenges and evolving expectation post pandemic. That the pandemic changed how students think about studying abroad and international exposure. So how do you have you noticed shifts in Latin American students' motivations? How they focus on different things as well? Um, or how you haven't changed much, or networking opportunities?
Yeah, networking is the main driver nowadays for every destination, US and also in London, in Europe,
Mm.
also. Of course, when they come to our programs, they look for a return on their investment because they have to invest their time because they are not going to the Caribbean island. They're not going to the islands in Asia or Thailand for a very nice beach. They are really spending their 3 weeks in classroom. And of course, during the weekends they can have some time off. But we look for them to post pandemic is the same. To be honest, we had a big problem in pandemic. We had no programs, so we
Hmm.
have all the world were shut down, as we know. And so now when we are back, we saw, for example, a wave of students. I remember in July 2022, we had the biggest group ever because everybody wanted to join and go out. So there was a little bit afraid of that, but then things are going more smoothly back. But I think the pandemic affected us in terms of technology in a certain way helping us because, for example, let me give you just one example. In the past, we have the enrollment contract for the student to sign was in a paper format. So the student had to sign the enrollment in a formal enrollment contract. And the admission office changed it because now it's electronically. So we do use a platform. So they do electronic, online enrollment, much easier. And some students sometimes are afraid it's a fraud. We also have to face the fraud in the internet. And this gives us a little bit of concern, but there's also a certain way helps it from one side in another way gives us insecurity. I talk a lot with fathers and of the students sometimes because they are afraid there's a fraud in the marketing, of course. And I don't blame them. I mean, they are right to check, they are right to do it. From the student's perspective, when they travel, they are still looking to be interaction face to face. That's something interesting because we say everybody went to online program, right?
Yes.
So lots of online programs. And our mission was no, we really want to have face-to-face meetings. And that was our successful because people really want to have the experiencing. We are human beings. We want to exchange experience face-to-face in classroom. And they travel abroad, learn about the destination, about London, and then they go to classroom. They said about the business strategy. They're looking for the sustainability in London. They look for, but the exchange with the professor, with their colleagues in classroom, the delivery is much higher than online only. And then we are back. I think we are back prior pandemic with the same benefits.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. And it's very interesting, Aldo, you just mentioned,
Yeah.
because with our conversations with many educational providers, we will find different challenges. Of course, your challenges will be different to ours and people coming from Europe and UK. But one of the things people have been talking about a lot is the fact that the amount of soft skills that were lost during the times of lockdowns. But perhaps the Latin America has less challenges than we do about it. But in a way, it's good to hear that the soft skills have not been lost in Brazil and Latin America, because those are important skills, aren't they? To
Mhm.
continue as your return on investment, it's not just about knowing all the tech stuff. It's also know how to talk to people and just interviewing them and having conversation with the future employers, for instance. So in a way, that leads me to our next question. Our last question, the pre-ultimate
Okay.
question, is about, how do you measure return on investment, the ROI? When you evaluate the success of IBS international programs, and there are a lot of them, and there's a lot of success there, how do you measure the return on investment, both for the students
Mhm.
in terms of employability and skills, and for the institution, your institution, in terms of reputation and long-term partnerships?
Yeah, that's something very interesting question because for us as a education manager, we need to look for the feedback from the students. We do lots of surveys during the program, so week 1, week 2, week 3, and also final survey at the end. And with all this data that comes from them, we look for what we can improve and make like incremental adjustments, incremental improvement. We IBS really likes the incremental innovation because that's something you go step by step and go improving your quality. We will look for there's a marketing. We use NPS, net promotion sales, and give us the calculation for how much a student would recommend to a friend the same program. So and this is a very good index for us. And we use that as a promoter for us to improve. And sometimes we are very high in one season and then the other season is not so high. Why is that? And then we have to go back and make the adjustment because, of course, as a manager, there's always something that can happen that the students are not happy for any reason. And we need to correct, or the other way around. For example, I was in New York and then was very high in the performance and the delivery when I was very confident. I was able to hear from the students and then in the results came from the NPS index came for us very in the same sense. As we deliver, IBS also has a academic leader goals with the students. So we want to guarantee that everything that has been promised with is delivered and also to support the students. This will give a sense for the students to promote. On the perspective of return to the students, the most index we have is a feedback from them in terms of new positions. In IBS, we still don't have a tool for managing this. To be honest, I think it's a very important one that you gave me an idea now to think about it,
Great.
how we can do
Glad to
it.
help.
Because, yeah, for example, career promotion or something like this. We have feedbacks from the students because they offer testimonials.
Hmm.
They are volunteer testimonials about their experience. And for example, I had one student in London. He was with me in London at Pearson College London, and his English was not so strong at the beginning. And he looked for me in the coordination and said, Professor Aldo, I'm very uncomfortable with my English. And I say, no, stay strong and firm, and it's gonna be 3 weeks. I guarantee you, then the third week you're gonna be better. Then he did it. It was great because a few weeks after the program finished, he wrote to me, "Thank you very much for the support in IBS," because he was hired for a Norwegian company who was opening an office in Rio de Janeiro. And he said that he was interviewed online by the recruiter,
Hmm.
by the human resource, and by his executive direct report in Norway. And then he was very successful and he got the job. So this is the most feedback return for we really looking for giving the students the opportunity. Go excel from their limit, their frontiers, their limitation. And we hear from them from time to time about their improvements in their careers. We have a case of students who participate in our programs nowadays is a global executives in Denmark, in Canada,
Hmm.
in Australia, in Middle East. But we as a management perspective, we should be maybe recording them better than what we do. That's our area of improvement from IBS.
Oh, that's great. That's great because we still have emphasis on employability. What you do offer is connecting students with the global opportunities and building partnerships. And this is one of the things that your institution is bringing, that bridging the gap with education and practice coming into one. In a sense, I want to bring it to the final sort of outro question. Really, the question is really, what question do you have a question for our next guest? And mind you, our next guest could be either an employer or a student. So is there something you would like to ask, one or either or?
If I got you correct, the next guest from the global education space, right?
Yes.
Okay, no worries. Yes, we look for both sides, to be honest, but more in the student's perspective, to give them as we were talking about, to develop their soft skills, as you mentioned very, very, very well in your presentation. Yeah, because the hard skills is very easy to develop, and you can go like study engineering, very strong. But when you go to soft skills, and I was reading the other day one report, I think from Deloitte, if I'm not wrong, saying that only 30%, 30, of the position in US are fully completed. I mean, they have candidates for all the skills they want, all the skills they need in the organization. Only 30%. So 70% of the candidates are missing soft skills in terms of communication, in terms of even writing English well, or for example, they ask for essay written, and lots of people are failing. So we see that the soft skills in terms of speaking English well, also our program gives the non-native speaker to come and also improve their English, like the example I mentioned about Marco Augusto, who is in Rio now. And so he is now working in a multinational Norwegian oil company in Rio because he participated in the program in London with us. And he always thankful about that. That's our mission, our goal. And we always try to help the students to go out of their front line, let's say, that they are borderline, and because sometimes they need to be pushed, they need to be in terms of motivated also, because there's so many opportunities around the world. And I always mention to the students about this, because when you go, even though there are some leaders looking for stopping a little bit of the connections, globalization, but I don't see this a wave of return. There will be sometimes a pause, sometimes I think a reflection, but I don't think the society will allow to go back in a certain way without connections, especially nowadays because communication is so easy.
So just as a quick follow-up, this is just so
Yeah.
if you had a potential student the next month, 2 months, what would you like to ask them? In this world, a student comes to you, what would you like to ask them?
Well, are you ready to improve your skills to become a global leader, to become a leader of your own career, to become a leader of the society where you are in? Yes, if your answer yes, come to see our programs. Yeah, that's would be my challenging them to become. We need more global leaders.
Absolutely. That's great. Thank you very much. This brings us to the end of the
Thank you. Thank
episode
you very
of
much for the
Thank you very
opportunity.
much. This is huge thank you to Aldo for sharing his insights into how IBS Americas is connecting students with global opportunities and building partnerships.
Thank you, Insider London.
Thank you very much. And we believe these conversations matter because they highlight the bridge between education and industry. And join us next time. We continue to explore the challenges and opportunities shaping international education. My name is Maciek, and this has been Inside the London Study Abroad Sessions. Thank you.